Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Profiling Evil Live. It's great to be with you. I'm Mike King, and tonight we're going to just chat. We're going to talk about some of the questions you've got and share a little bit of news on some new content that's coming. I don't even know how this will be received by everybody, so we'll just see how this thing goes as we go along, and maybe we'll have some good conversation. Who knows? Let me just start off by saying hello to a few people who have dialed in. Betty Don't was first on the line tonight. Linda G, great to see you. Coffee Bar Lady, Dawn Marie, good to see y'all. And thanks so much for jumping in. Hey, Dr. Ed, good to see you. Thank you. And it's been nice visiting with you the last couple of days. Thank you. And I want to just, again, open this up. Let's have some discussion. I'm going to put in here in the chat a link that if you want to actually call and jump online with me for a minute, we can do that. And we'll see if we can answer some questions. Bert Brown, thanks. Just watched you on 10 to Life. Yeah, thanks so much to Annie Elise and the chance to visit with her. For those of you who listen to Gray Hughes, I'm going to join Gray tomorrow night. Had some family commitments today that I was taking care of, and now I'm just kind of kicking back a little bit as the evening winds down. Jojo Wynn, good to see you. Thank you so much. Art Junkie, Kitty Coo, Susie Simperman or Kimperman. I hope I got that right. I don't know. And heck, let's start chatting a little bit. First off, Betty Don't asked, News Nation reports that WSU had access to live police body cam. Wondering what if Bryan participated in that and could have watched interactions between the co-eds and police. She thinks that he made some of those noise complaints himself so that he could watch what was going on. Interesting question. Linda, do you think BK could have taken a trophy from the Idaho Forest house so he could use it to remember what he's done? And, we've talked about trophies before. And by the way, I'm just a little nervous. I broke my microphone 2 days ago, and I got my arm wrapped up in the cord or something, pulled it off the desk. So I just dropped $270 on a new mic. So please let me know if you're hearing this. And that way I know. Oh, good. Thanks, Harlow. Sound is perfect. So good. It should be perfect at that price, right? Anyway, so the question on trophies is always interesting because, and I actually had this question with Annie on 10 to Life a few days ago, where she posed this question of what the possibility is of him taking a trophy. Always a possibility. The interesting thing is the trophy could be any number of things. It could be an item taken from the victim, something taken from the home. And to the other extreme, it could be a trophy that remains up here. And so what becomes important is to think about in the interview process, this is where you can really start to determine as you're talking to people whether they may or may not do that. And if you think about legitimate kinds of trophies that people have, they win a soccer tournament and they get a trophy and they put it up on the countertop so that everybody sees, and every time they look at it, they go, oh man, I had this great experience where I did this or that. I have trophies in my office. I think all of you do. I have things from, I have my hat here from, I was on a call yesterday with Metropolitan Police in London. Got my hat that they gave me a few years ago. I guess in a weird, wacky way, it's a trophy of sorts. Now, to a predator, that trophy might be something entirely different. But you think about people that have pictures of them holding a big fish, or for the hunter, a picture of them with their conquest, or the mount on their wall, where they can go back and relive the experience. And so we see predators doing that same kind of thing. And so, is it possible? Absolutely. And again, it's also possible that the trophy is right here. And think about some of the things that are just really good memories to you that you don't have a picture of or anything else, but you still can vividly remember what's going on. And when you share that experience with someone else, you become animated. You lean forward. You talk about it with enthusiasm. And these predators are just the same. If you can get them talking, then you can see what is so darn important to them and what may have motivated them in the crime. So all of that is usually something great. Let's see. Magdalene Marie Dubois says, "Hey, love your chat." Well, thanks. It's great to have you here with us. Heavy Metal Cat, thanks. Hair Farethia, yay. New member from Australia. Nice to see you. Diane Phoenix, again, thanks for all the support you've given over the years, and the support in many different ways. Folks, if you are interested, please hit the subscribe button. Again, we're going to keep this really relaxed tonight. I don't know that I have any kind of content that I'm dead set on talking about. How do you feel about Bryan Kohberger being bullied in school in his younger years? Do you think the defense is going to try to use some of this? So interesting, because absolutely, wouldn't you use anything you can to gain sympathy for someone? But if you're going to say, I became a bully because I was bullied, then you almost have to admit that maybe you had some responsibility in the crime. So that's going to be a really interesting question, Janine R33, because it's going to depend on the direction they take. And if the direction they take is, hey, my buddy who I kicked out of the car is responsible for the murder, I had nothing to do with it, you're not gonna chase anything that would suggest that you have the tendency to do something mean. The problem he's got is that there's already a lot of people coming out saying that he's done a lot of things that were mean in some cases, that they've seen personality changes after he matured and thinned down and everything else. But online, great name, online hangover, you hit it on the nail on the head. We've got to continue to remind ourselves and remind others, and then keep our personal opinions to ourselves to some degree. But this guy is innocent until he's proven guilty. And a lot of people are going to write some comments in here right off the bat saying, I can say whatever I want and believe whatever I want. But we have to take the high road when it comes to criminal law. So, Angela, don't know where you are in England, but thanks for getting on so darn early in the morning. I'll actually be there in about 10 more days, and looking forward to getting back over to England. So let's see here. Crystal, Beaver Gaming sub Crystal. Interesting. Will they be able to use anything found in the car, apartment, or family house in the preliminary hearing? Absolutely. The question really becomes, how much do you want to use in the prelim? And frankly, I was half expecting that they'd waltz in with a grand jury and just skip the prelim. Now they've got till June, it sounds like, to prepare for the preliminary hearing. And this is where, I don't know if any of you caught some of the commentary I made. I think it was on Court TV, where I spoke about, in my opinion, if the defense is going to attack the witness in this particular case, that's the time it's going to really happen, is in that preliminary hearing. And here's why I say that, because there, the defense attorney can be a little more aggressive and not risk offending members of the jury, because there won't be a jury. So that's where they can maybe push a little harder and get the witness to say, "Well, no, I didn't really see something," or "No, that was maybe taken out of context." So sometimes that prelim can be pretty brutal, and that's where the state has to be so cautious about trying to figure out who are we going to put on. And the idea in a preliminary hearing is put on just enough evidence to convince the state that the person should be bound over for a jury trial or a trial. And so the question always becomes, how much do you put on the line? So that Lauren, when do you have to remember to stick with the profile, and when do you try to be open to expanding the profile? Really interesting. And you've heard me say this before, at least I hope you have, that one of the things that I was taught early on when I was learning this art and science of profiling, and something that I taught globally as I taught profiling around the world, was, and it's kind of silly because it goes back to a fictional book on Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who said, "It's a capital mistake to theorize before you have all the facts, because insensibly you spend all of your time twisting new facts as they come in to fit your theory rather than allowing the facts to unfold and build the theory." And so the question is more a question to your question, and that is, it really boils down to, is the individual so convinced they have all of the information and thus they don't need to grow and develop and evolve and understand more? Because the more you learn about a case, the better you are. In fact, what we've seen in serial predator cases is, sadly, there'll be more victims before this individual's caught, because it takes some time to start figuring out how they tick, what their preferential victim is, what their modus operandi or their signature is, and then tie those cases together. So the question is, in a perfect world, no, you should always evolve, and you should always be willing to evolve. Sometimes we're so bent on being right that we really spend a lot of time twisting things to fit. And think about your own experiences when you've been doing this true crime community stuff, and when you've decided in your mind who's guilty of something or who's responsible. Could even be many of you who are thinking Kohberger is guilty and responsible. What if it ends up that it was somebody that's very close to him that would have had access to the knife in the sheath with the DNA that gets dumped? Now, it doesn't explain all the goofy behaviors that went on after, and the cleaning of the car and all of that stuff, but we have to just kind of keep an open mind. And I guess that's sometimes where I get into trouble on this channel, because I don't get sensational enough, and sometimes people want to get really sensational. So there you go. Hope that answers to some degree anyway. I put a new video out a couple of days ago. Hasn't done very well. I don't know how many of you have seen, how many didn't see it, where I talked about the murders that occur, or the murder case that was going on with a man who was bludgeoned to death, and yet his wife claimed that he fell and hit his head on the bathroom sink. Go back to the content list and look at that one and listen to it if you have. And Megan Evans, thanks so much for that super sticker. And folks, if you want to follow Megan's suit, please do so, because that is always so very helpful to have that. So let's see. Yeah, Diane, thanks for this comment. I think Cynthia says, yeah, defense stating he's bullied, poor me. It's everybody's fault. That's kind of an interesting angle, because a lot of people like to take that, and again, that goes back to the nurture versus nature. And are we really responsible for things we happen to do, or does it just happen in life? And you can go back and watch those Academy series 1 and 2 on YouTube in the content list. If you just go to the playlist for the Academy, and you can catch some of those. And I think you'd enjoy it. And by the way, Megan Evans, thanks for becoming a member tonight. And that Lauren, thank you for becoming a member tonight. Folks, if you're not subscribed to Profiling Evil, what a great time to subscribe. And we'd love to have you in the band here with us. So please give that some consideration. Listen, I'm going to post this again. If you want to jump on with me and chat, have everybody see your face. Love to have you join on for a minute. Again, we're not going to take a whole lot of time tonight other than just to chat and answer questions. The back office used to tell me periodically I needed to do an Ask Mike Anything series because people want to just yap and talk about anything. And I am always a little resistant. I kind of like to be a little more controlled, but we're loosening up tonight and having some fun together. So thank you. And hey, Doc, thank you so much for your professionalism. It's been really fun to have some clinical discussion with you in email back and forth. But thanks for that kind donation, Doc, and frankly for the chance to chat back and forth. It really is enjoyable. And folks, I do try to answer as many things as I can. I usually end up answering emails or texts or chats when I'm on a plane somewhere because it seems like I have some unobligated time when I'm there. So that is great. And here we go. Judith Lyons was following the Hignite case, and she's baffled that his wife didn't go straight to jail, gobsmacked, in fact. I think that's awesome. So yeah, go back and watch that video, folks, if you haven't watched the video on the Hignite case, because it's probably one of the few times I actually get a little exercised, and that'll give you a chance to see me when I'm kind of exercised. So, which isn't that impressive anyway, but let's see. Missy, I wonder if BK was watching the Grub Truck stream as part of his stalking. Yeah, if he was stalking, and I don't know that. I know that it would certainly make sense that there was some of that going on, but I just don't know. Harlow, thank you. Some people say my voice just can put you right to sleep and it's boring. So that's nice that you would say that. I'm really appreciative that you would say that. Thank you. And Jennifer, thank you for this kind comment. That's really nice. So let's see what Jetta tonight has to say. If Bryan was cleaning the car with gloves, I wonder if his parents questioned him as to why he needed gloves since he was the only person driving the car. Yeah, aren't there going to be a lot of interesting questions with the parents? And I don't know if you saw the supposed family member that's put out an alibi for Kohberger and threatening that the family's going to sue. And frankly, families should sue if people say this guy's guilty or he did this or did that. Just like the TikToker, I still am so troubled by that kind of behavior. There's got to be some responsibility in this, and frankly, there's got to be some decency in the way we do things. So I don't know. So anyway, hey, Don Marie, thanks so much. You're never going to have enough Diet Dr. Pepper. And folks, if you want to donate, and sometimes people get a little trouble doing it on YouTube, you can always go over to PayPal and donate there. We really do appreciate it. But tonight I'm going to really push and say, I hope you're all considering joining the Profiling Evil Academy channel membership because I'm going to be releasing 16 new videos after I go off the air tonight, and they will only be available to channel members of the Academy. And for those of you who can't, and I try to be sensitive to that, but it is a way to generate some revenue. In April or May, I'm going to release them all to everybody else. But if you haven't gone back to the Academy series in the content list anyway, you probably don't even realize that all of those are there. In fact, or in the playlist. Let me just pop that up for a second and show you what I'm talking about, because it's some people sometimes don't know it's there or how to do it or whatever the case may be. So let's go to right here. So if you go into the content page, and I'm going to just put there. So right there, the content page, and then go up to playlists. When you click on playlists, you can actually see all of our playlists at Profiling Evil. And the one that I want you to think about going and checking out is this one called The Academy. And for folks that are channel members, they get these when they're released before anybody else. But now those that were released last year, I've now put on this page where you can go in and you can make sure you're getting all of these videos, and you can kind of go through a series of training sessions with me. Some, like you can see, are only 5 minutes long. Others are much longer, but we talk about nature versus nurture. One of the topics that we brought up tonight as we were answering questions, the difference between fantasy and reality, and this conundrum that it places predators into. Let me see here. We've got, let me pop that up. Id, ego, and superego, the different crime scenes, victimology, the risk continuum. And I hope that some of you have been hitting that risk continuum up on a regular basis. So those were all in season 1, and they're numbered the 1 point episodes. Last year, we did season 2, which was organized and disorganized criminals, the forms of evidence, deviant and criminal behavior, public, private, secret lives, modus operandi, MO versus signature. So when we were talking about, do they take trophies? This is a place where we discuss that. The risk levels that offenders are willing to take, sexual typologies, arson, psychological profiling, geography. I talk a little bit about Jack the Ripper. In fact, I'm going to go visit some of his sites on probably the 23rd while I'm in London. Anyway, and so you can go on and continue to look through those. And then down here, you're going to see all of these that are going to be released tonight after I finish the content or our live tonight. And these are season 3 that will only be available to members that are channel members of Profiling Evil Academy level. So I hope you'll consider doing that. Again, it's not too much, but easy for me to say, right? And it'll give you a chance to look at it. But for those of you who can't afford to do a channel membership, don't sweat it. In April or May, those will pop out again and be available for free to everyone to look at. I had someone hammer me a couple of days ago about the fact that I have commercials that pop up on these videos. Again, I don't control YouTube, but I sure appreciate the revenue that comes. And I guess people think some of this should be just done for free, but it kind of takes a lot of work to do all this stuff. So Lex Luthor, great name. I would like to hear about fight or flight responses that go through the human mind naturally. I think people really need to understand each individual responds differently to situations. And boy, isn't this a great topic to take us kind of back full circle to DM and the witness in the Moscow 4 murders, and many people who have challenged the fact that rather than call police, she closed the door and basically curled up in a ball for a while. And this is something that I talked about on Court TV and News Nation, actually. And again, it's not as sensational as people want, because they want you to be unhappy with this individual or something. But I basically presented it in this way, where there's this natural thing that each of us do. We project our own value system into others in the way that they should act. And so we think to ourselves, for instance, let's say in when we look at a killer, we think, how could this person ever do something like that? I would never think of killing someone. Or we think of this victim in this case, and we think, how could that person have been paralyzed? I would have been so angry, I would have been making phone calls. Well, this is a really dangerous place for us to get, and a really judgmental place for us to get. And I just think we need to kind of take a deep breath and realize that every person is going to deal with it a little bit differently. And because of that, it's pretty inappropriate for us to make those kind of assessments. And here I am making a judgment or assessment. So I hope my judgment and assessment seems more level playing field, not judging those who make those judgments, other than to say, man, uh, we're not in that position, so we don't know. Jojo Wynn, thank you so much for this kind donation. As motive with regard to BK, need-driven behavior. Interesting. It's really interesting when you think about behavior, and you've heard me talk about this before. One of the things that profilers try to do is they try to get into the scene. And whenever I had a chance to go to a crime scene, and sometimes you had to do it just in your mind by looking at the photographs that were recovered from the crime scene investigators, but you want to kind of sit in a corner and vicariously roll in the dirt, so to say, as you look around the room. And somebody just mentioned the blood spatter on the Hignite case. And again, folks, go back and watch that video. Here's a guy that fell off the toilet, according to his wife, and bumped his head on the kitchen sink, and she let him lay on the floor for 3 days before she got him medical care. When they examined him, he had 33 head wounds, terrible blunt force trauma, and blood spatter up the wall and onto the ceiling of the house. What a profiler wants to do is just get in there and start thinking about the behavior, the anger. And so I'll use that example of Hignite for a moment. The anger that it would take for someone to 33 times whack somebody on the head, and with each one have it being with so much force that you're flinging blood up onto the roof above you and onto the wall behind you. Just imagine the anger that something like that would take. And then add to that the person ends up, the victim, with a broken orbital socket, so that bone around the eye, that he has a punctured lung, that he has a broken leg, that he has broken ribs, and all of this from falling off the toilet. Go hit that video. You got to watch that one. I just think it's great. And Jojo, thanks again for that kind donation. So, man, I hope this is right, Heather. Whatever. I hope this isn't boring. So, we'll try to keep moving. So here's something interesting. Why do profilers always use the word methodical to describe possible suspects? I don't get it. I find them completely, in effect, BK dumb. So some offenders are methodical in the way they do things. Some offenders are not. And so if you go back to the Academy series that I was talking about, watch the video I did on organized versus disorganized offenders, because if Harlow, you're thinking they all lump them in, that would be inappropriate. These offenders are different from each other, and yet sometimes they're so much the same you just can't believe it. So I don't know. Jeff, what do you think about BK and Papa Roger? Have you heard anything on this? And do you think they're the same? Man, I don't know. And I'd love, in fact, Jeff, if you know more about Papa Roger, come on and tell everybody about it, because I just don't know. And one of the things that you probably have gotten used to and frustrated with me is that I don't usually go off on the tangents of the what ifs. I try to stick more to the factual based things that are coming out that we do know. And so I don't know. Cotton Candy. Do you think BK could have had anything to do with the DoorDash order? I don't believe so, because it had to somehow end up on Xana's phone for her to say, I'm going to go get that," and that would be pretty mystical to be able to do that. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? So, and here's a great reason why this guy's wearing gloves. I mean, I knew an individual who was very much afraid of any kind of germ and would wear gloves doing everything, including touching her children. So who knows? I don't know. So let's see what else we got here. Well, Sasha, thanks for joining up. I missed a few others. Jojo, you are awesome. Thanks. The academy level is so worth it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Sasha, thanks to joining the academy. Okay, here's one that really gets a lot of people psyched out, and that is, have I ever had any experience working with psychic detectives? Yes. And I thankfully have had those who are prone to believe in psychics never feel like I've been disparaging to them, and I hope I never am. I very directly have said I have used them in the past. I think anyone that has an unsolved case would be foolish not to listen to some of the things that are said, but but I find in many cases they're very generalized, and personally they never helped me with anything in any investigation. And recently I had someone send me a long email about a person who had a psychic experience in a criminal case in California. They ended up suing the police who arrested them, thinking they knew more about the case than they should. They won in that settlement. They found a body, and they said this is proof that it happened. And yet as I researched the case, because I was really intrigued by it, there were many people in the same neighborhood who were out searching and had feelings that something could have happened in this community. And again, I don't want to in any way disparage this, but from my own personal experience, I was never successful with anything that had to do with that. So I don't know. And again, please don't take that negatively. I think if you, and I guess the other thing that troubles me is when a psychic comes on YouTube and says, "Here's what happened," instead of, if it truly is a mixture of art and psyche, give it to the police and let them handle it, and don't turn it into a commercial venture. But I don't know. Again, in the same light, we got to make a living too. So let's see. Oh, well, gosh, there's a lot of comments. It's fun seeing you talking back and forth. And yeah, let's unpack that. Uh, Good. I'm glad you joined, and thanks. I don't do lives a whole lot, and tonight I just my wife went to bed early, and I thought, well, what am I going to do? I can watch Seinfeld maybe or something, but let's see. Is it possible that Kohberger was so full of adrenaline after killing people that he was in the flight mode and just didn't see DM? So, that's an interesting thing. And again, this is supposing that he's the killer, and we don't know that. But if we were to kind of take this back and say, is it possible that whoever walked by DM, the witness, and either didn't stop or was so consumed with getting out what would be the reasons behind that. And I spoke on court TV the night that was revealed about this particular thing. And if you think about it, and I want to walk like I'm the suspect in this case, as I come out of the doorway in the hallway across from Xana's bedroom, the just directly across from me and to my left is the witness's room. And she could have had that door open just a small amount peeking through. It may have felt like it was open, the space of the Grand Canyon, to her, thinking she had just come face to face with a killer. But the witness was here, but the suspect was looking this way to the sliding glass door, the way I'm looking right now, if you look at the architecture of the house. And so it's very easy for me to kind of theorize that it would have been very easy. Number one, a darkened corner versus a doorway, a glass door with exterior lighting, and walking out that door and getting out of the house. I don't know. It just seems to make pretty good sense to me. And I think that's what I'm going to talk with Gray tomorrow night about. Is he wants to go over his 3D model and just talk a little bit about the floors. And heck, I wasn't there, but like you, I can kind of theorize what would make sense, and we'll see. So let's ignite. Wendy, she killed him. 33 fractures from a fall off the toilet. Yeah, that's what I said. I think I got a little dramatic and said that toilet must have been 300 feet off the ground for him to have those injuries. So, Girl Friday, haven't seen you for a while, or I've missed it anyway. So glad you joined in, and thank you for being here. Let's see. Kimberly DeMong, if someone has never been in that kind of fear, don't judge. I was once in fear for my life, and I froze, even though I believed I was going to die. Amen. Thanks for saying that. In fact, I often think I think I was as prepared as a SWAT officer as any could be. And one night we were serving search warrants at an apartment building, and I remember walking up, and I was at the side of a door, and we were getting ready to breach the door and go in, and my back was against a door to a second apartment just to my left. And as I was against the wall getting ready for us to breach the door, the owner of the apartment that I had my back to cracked open the door of his residence, and he put a gun up to my temple. He thought I was a dope dealer coming to rob him. And so he got arrested, and the guy, but frankly, I was pretty paralyzed for a fraction of a second while I was trying to negotiate what had just happened to me. So Kimberly, I'm with you 100%. These crazy things, when they unfold, you just deal with. So let's see. Do you think the homeless hatchet killer, his name's Kai, is 100% guilty of murder? I watched the movie the other night. You know what, Whitney? I do not know the case that you're talking about. And I'm sorry, you're probably ashamed of me right now, but I just wanted to make sure we got that question up, and that I publicly shamed myself that I didn't know. So let's see. My first contention with this profile. Let's see. Okay. I lost that. The chats are coming in a little quick. Let's see. Well, hey, folks, again, thanks so much. If you are new to Profiling Evil, please subscribe. We really do like having you on here with us. And Chrissy 71, thanks for that kind donation. Please explain page 15 of the affidavit. It says on page 14 that BK's cell pinged at 9 a.m. On page 15, it says law enforcement doesn't believe he was back in the area. I don't have the affidavit in front of me, but maybe we can go through that again and do another video and walk through it. A couple of things that I have been thinking of doing for a video, and I'd love to have you make comment in the chat if you're interested in it, is I've just been thinking about some of that unobligated time, but more importantly, what the mechanism is for tracking in those kinds of situations. And I had somebody the other night send me a note that I was way off on triangulation. I could have been. I don't know. I mean, I wish this. I asked this person to send me some information about their background. I didn't hear back from them. I've spent the last 10 years working with AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, and the teleproviders all around the world on this very problem. So I think I have a pretty good expertise in the technology and the science behind it. But and I'm waiting in hopes that they'll come back, because I said I want to bring you on the show to tell me where I'm wrong, because otherwise I've been informing the FCC and national organizations around the world inappropriately if this guy was right. But I don't know. He could have been. Heck, let's see. Let's see, folks. I want to. There was a question I wanted to hit, but gosh, Spitfire, thank you. I really appreciate that. Nice of you to do that. Perry, UK true crime. Why do you think he drove so far so long after the crime? You know, I'll tell you what. There are a lot of people, Perry, getting spun up about this criminal justice student, master's degree, working on a PhD, having, if it's all true, so many mistakes in the case. And I brought this out on some news program a few weeks ago, that I don't know why everybody is thinking, why did he spend so much time? To me, it makes really good sense, because reality is never as cool as fantasy. And you think about this, he probably fantasized for months, if not years, about this crime. And I still don't believe that 4 people were his preferential target. I believe that things didn't work out the way he wanted them to. He was successful in killing people, and he was a machine in killing them. If he is the right person, and he is one person, but I think that's where we start seeing that he may have started in a very organized manner, but he became disorganized. And that driving, leaving the sheath behind, traveling, turning your phone on and off, all of that just shows disorganization to me. And I think that's really natural, especially in a younger predator, or once predators start becoming really out of control and have to do it more quickly. And so that's what I kind of personally think happened. But it's going to be interesting to see as more information comes out. The prelim is going to be something to behold, isn't it? To see what happened there. Let's see. So many questions. I wish we could hit them all. And Kathy, this is a kind note. Thanks for being a place of calm and wisdom in the experience of horrific crimes. These are horrific crimes. And sometimes people get mad and they send me a dirty note saying, hey, don't smile in the course of these. I'm not going to twist my face into all kinds of weird places. I mean, I spent a career looking at these kinds of things, and what an honor as an investigator to be able to advocate for people who can't advocate for themselves. And gosh, do you think a plea deal is possible? Well, I think it's always possible, especially if the defense is able to argue some things that state looks at and says, man, that could create question in this case, and we could lose this. I mean, look at the Hignite case. They got a hung jury after the state put on that the wife was the only person with Mr. Hignite. Leon's in the bathroom. He falls, gets 33 head wounds, a broken leg, broken ribs, a punctured lung, a fractured orbital eye, and blood flung on the ceiling. And she purposely keeps him laying on the floor for 3 days before she finally calls police. She calls the family physician and says, my husband fell and hit his head on a shovel, tells the police he must have fallen off the toilet. and they get a hung jury in the case. So, do I think it's possible to take the death penalty off the table and let him plea? Absolutely. It's going to really depend on how strong their case is. Now, you got me spun up on that one. Holy cow! How often does that happen? Hey, AK, nice to see you. Great show. Good with job with facts. You know what? I really like AK. The guy disturbs me half the time. The other half, I just love visiting with him. And it's been a while since we've talked on the phone, AK, but thanks. We should never be afraid to challenge thought. I think as long as we're decent with each other, it's awesome. So great to see you pop in. Let's see here. Matthew Moss, thanks so much for that super sticker. Really helpful. Let's see. Man, the chats are kind of spinning past pretty quickly. So we'll go back and read those more. Nat B from Canada, thanks for joining. Where in Canada are you, Nat? That's great to have you join with us. Let's see. Danny Doe says, I watched you on 10 to Life and noticed the Nebraska plaque on the wall, and I know you're in Utah. Well, so Danny, thanks. This is going to be my brag moment for just a second. That was when I was a young officer, probably about 15 years into my career. I received an incredible compliment and was named the National Police Officer of the Year, and the conference happened to be in Nebraska. And so that's what that's all about. And that's so nice that you would ask, because it gives me a chance to pat myself on the back. That was really nice for people that did that. That was all before I did the Zion Society case. I was running an undercover sting operation, and I think that particular year we recovered some hand grenades and some other things in a undercover sting that we did, and it kind of got spun out of control, and they made a big deal out of it. But I obviously fly the banner, so thanks for mentioning that. Let's see. Now, I don't know what this means, Angel Slay Mike, but I hope that that's not a action comment, but we'll see what happens. And let's see, Doc. Yeah, thanks for inviting Charlene Vickers here. That's great. Let's see, Kimberly Ann, if there was a change of venue, they will only change it to another county, won't they? Yeah, that's probably what would happen. Just like we saw in the Daybell case, and frankly, it just makes sense in some cases. Why would you want this thing going back and giving them another reason to appeal a case? So I don't know. Let's see here. Hey, and by the way, I want to mention it again, and it's self-serving. So I get it. It's self-serving, but I really want to promote the fact that we are releasing tonight, after the show tonight, our Profiling Academy Season 3 videos. They're only available for Academy members, but in about April we'll make them available to everybody else. But in this particular series, again, these are vignettes that are sometimes 7 or 8 minutes to sometimes 30 or 40, but I'll be talking about biological influences of criminal behavior, developmental risk factors in criminal behavior. We're going to talk about the Stanford experience and whether learning and situational factors lead to crime. We'll talk about human aggression, juvenile delinquency, psychopathy, crime and mental disorders, mass murder, psychology of modern terrorism, sexual assault always comes up, burglary and home invasion, crimes of intimidation, intimate partner violence, all of those. And folks, the only way you're going to get those until April or May is if you're a member of Profiling Evil Academy. It's only $4.99 a month. You can binge watch these, and you can get rid of me next month if you want. I hope you don't, but it really does help us financially to have that. I don't know how many of you, especially if there's some that are new, know what we do with the money here at Profiling Evil. I got a really nice job, a day job that puts me all over the planet working with law enforcement. We have been so fortunate because last year we were able to bury 3 people whose families couldn't afford to bury him. We made a huge donation to the university for training law enforcement officers in sexual abuse crimes. And we have made a commitment of every book that we sell of Deceived, an investigative memoir of the Zion Society cult. All the proceeds from my book Deceived go to the new Children's Justice Center. It's called a Children's Advocacy Center in some areas, and this is going to help build a new center that's going to break ground this spring. In fact, the center director sent me a picture of what that new center's starting to, or what the diagram shows it's going to look like. Oops, let's see if I can stop hitting the wrong buttons here. And I'm going to just show you what that little center looks like. So we're really proud of the fact that the money that we've been getting from you, we're trying to turn around and do others. And plus it costs money to do this YouTube thing. So it really is helpful. But let me just show you what this Children's Advocacy Center is. This is a place where children can go and be forensically and physically examined after they've been sexually or physically abused. It's where they can participate in preparing them for court and all kinds of things. But isn't this like just incredible to see what this new center is going to look like? And we've been really honored. We're only doing a small portion of it, but it is such an honor to be able to support them in what they're doing there. So anyway, enough patting myself on the back. Thank you for your money, because it helps us do some really cool things for other people. And anyway, so there you go. I hope you'll consider joining the Academy. I hope you'll keep showing up when I throw together a video. Make sure that you watch for me on 10 to Life. We're going to do part 2 with Annie, I think next week sometime. Tomorrow night, I'm going to jump on with Gray Hughes. I try to jump on with other creators whenever they want me and whenever I can, because I just think it makes good sense to be friends. And you know, sometimes I'm pretty brutal. I call out what I think is kind of weird behavior sometimes on YouTube, and so I ought to be willing to take it myself. Chrissy, thanks so much. Speaking of your book Deceived, you didn't sign my copy. If you bought it from Amazon, I didn't sign it, but if you bought a hardbound version, I should have received a note because I would have signed it for you, Chrissy. So if it's hardbound and you want to mail it back, send me an email to profilingevil@gmail.com, and I'll make you a deal. If you'll ship it one way, I'll ship it back to you signed. If it's paperback, I can't do anything for you because Amazon just does their thing the way they want to do their thing. But I do appreciate it. So I think we should take the rest of the night off and go be with our families or something. I want to thank you again. Please consider the Academy. Please subscribe if you're not. Let's get together and do this thing again, as far as just talking and answering questions that you may or may not have. And until then, we'll do our best to keep on top of things. So thanks, everybody. Have a good night.